Well, hey everyone. Today we're going to do a walkthrough of the large group script for Kids Church. So as you can see in front of you, here's an example of one of our large group scripts from PursueGOD.org. So you can see it starts with just the basic information of what series this lesson is in, what number it is, and the title of the lesson. You can also see that there is a link to Pursue God, and this will take you right to our lesson page where you can find other materials that you'll need for Kids Church. And so just diving right in, our large group time is organized by slides, and so you'll see that our large group script reflects that. And so it starts with a welcome. Many people have a countdown that they choose to do for this time, and if you have that, that's awesome. We start it once the kids start coming in, and then when it gets down to the last 10 seconds, we usually say those out loud with the kids just to get them pumped up and ready for a fun and engaging time in their large group. So moving on down, we have our series intro, and this is where you either introduce a new series that you're starting that day, or you recap what you've already learned in a current series. And so this one is a recap, and as you can see, it says we're continuing in our series. And so what you're going to do is you're going to quiz kids and just review what they learned next week, and that also helps kids that weren't there just kind of be on the same page as everyone else. So during this time, you also introduce what you're going to learn in that lesson that day. And so as you can see, it says, today we're going to talk about when Jesus went to a garden. And so that just kind of gets them ready, a little bit excited, kind of a little teaser for what they're going to learn in their video. Okay, and then moving on, we have a song. And so as we said in the previous video, you do have to purchase the rights to your own music because unfortunately we cannot provide that. It violates some copyright infringement. And so talk with your kids' church director or a leader at your church to see if you can get some music for your large group time because it really does make it very fun and just a nice atmosphere for the kids. And so if you do have worship, just a few recommendations. Make sure that you are worshiping yourself with the kids. They will be looking at you as an example. And so you'll definitely want to be modeling what you're expecting of them. And so if you're standing there staring at the screen, they're all going to stand there and stare at the screen. If you are singing and you're actively engaged, then they will actively engage as well. If you're uncomfortable being in front of them, then join them in worship. Stand with them and face the screen with them, and so you're next to them. If you're comfortable being in front of them, you can also bring up a few of the older kids with you, and so the younger kids can see, oh, look, there are other kids doing this too, and it gets them more involved. So that's our song. Next, you have the big idea, and that really just encapsulates the main theme of the lesson. And so you do say this with the kids. It's really important for them to repeat it with you so that they can also memorize it. And so then we move on to the video. The video can be downloaded from the PursueGOD.org lesson page, and again, you can access that from the link at the top. And then we recap the video right after it's done, and this is a time of quizzing, and kids love this, so it can get a little rowdy. So I usually have them raise their hands. I'll ask a question and have them raise their hands and call on them. If you want, you can add more questions to this so that you can engage more kids. It's totally up to you, but just make sure that you also review the video after you've quizzed them. This really puts it in the right perspective for them because we sometimes have examples that just kind of puts it more on their level. So this is definitely something you want to look at beforehand so that you know and are prepared to really engage with them during this time. And that leads us to our memory verse. So they do have a memory verse each week, and it does have actions, so be sure to practice this beforehand. And so during this time, you're going to have the kids stand, and you're going to have them repeat it with you while doing the actions. If this is something that you're uncomfortable with, again, you can invite an older kid up with you, or you can have someone else do it during this time. But I usually do this somewhere between 3 and 6 times, repetitions with the kids. So I'll start by doing it slowly, then learning the actions, and then I'll speed it up. And then as a test at the end, I actually have them turn around so that they can't see the screen, and I go to the back of the room and I do the actions while they're saying the words and doing the actions, and they love it. It's a challenge for them, and I think they love exceeding that challenge and just feeling like they have really learned something during that time. And I always notice that they have the most fun, I think, during the memory verse. And it's great because that leads right into another song. So if they're standing, you can have them stay standing. And again, just the tips from before about inviting kids up or worshiping with the kids. Just remember to make it fun and engaging for them so that they have a positive experience with worship. And then that is followed by the big idea. And so you just want to reinforce it before they go into their small group time. So repeat it, maybe even have them say it back to you without you saying it with them, or turn around like in the memory verse. But definitely make it so that they leave that time knowing what the big idea is. And then we always end our time with prayer. So I'd recommend that you lead the prayer and that you model how you want them to pray. Kids oftentimes don't inherently know how to pray. And so I would just make sure that you're modeling it, maybe even explaining it to them so that they understand what's going on and why praying is important. And then after that time, you dismiss them to their small groups with their teachers. And so this whole entire large group time should only take about 20 minutes. That's kind of difficult, especially if you're having a lot of fun. Sometimes you get carried away with it. So be sure to set a timer on your phone, or always be aware of the clock in the room so that you're not going over. The reason why it's important is that the small group time is really set around activities, and those activities take a certain amount of time. So if you go into their allotted time, then they usually can't finish everything. So just that's something to be very aware of when you are doing your large group time, to have checkpoints, check your phone, check the clock, whatever you need to do to be sure that you're staying on track and just having fun with kids. So I pray that you guys have an awesome time leading large group, and that it's really fulfilling and that you're able to engage a lot of kids for Jesus.